Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever you're watching this. Today I have something that kind of struck me. It's something I'm dealing with, and I wanted to share it with others because it's important. I think a lot of times we think we have a good perspective, or we're normal, or we're average, or so, you know what I mean? Or maybe you don't know what I mean. Let me explain. Me on my worst day and amidst my worst circumstances is better than the majority of the world on their best day in their best circumstances. Let me explain. Okay, stripping away comparisons to any specific Western standard reveals a clear picture of what a statistically average human life looks like across the globe today. Income and financial reality. If you were to rank all 8 billion people by income and pull the person standing directly in the middle, their economic reality is defined by basic survival and limited disposable income. The median income. The global median income is roughly 3,000 to 5,000 United States dollars per year. Per year, guys. Or about 14,000 euros when averaged out as a mean across global GDP, which is heavily skewed by billionaires. So if we take away the billionaires, obviously those people are not average. It's 3,000 to 5,000. The daily budget. The average human lives on roughly $5 to $12 a day. They must cover shelter, food, clothing, and energy for an entire household. The poverty baseline. About 10% of the global population, roughly 800 million people, lives in extreme poverty, surviving on less than $2.15 a day. The average human is just one major health crisis or bad harvest away from falling into this category. The economy type. The average person does not live in a high-income economy. They live in an emerging market or developing nation like India, Indonesia, or Brazil, where the local currency has low purchasing power on the international market, standard of living, and infrastructure. For the average human, daily life is highly vulnerable to infrastructural failures, localized supply chains, and environmental stress, housing and utilities. The average person lives in a densely populated urban area or a rural village. While they likely have access to electricity, the connection is frequently unstable, experiencing regular blackouts or brownouts. Water and sanitation. A typical human has access to water, but it is often not safely managed or treated at the source. Roughly 1 in 4 people globally lack safely managed drinking water at home, meaning fetching water or boiling it to prevent disease is a routine part of daily life. Technology. The average person owns a smartphone. Mobile penetration is incredibly high worldwide. However, their internet connection is heavily metered, expensive relative to their income, or throttled. They use technology primarily for essential communication and localized banking, like mobile money apps, rather than heavy data processing, content creation, or high-end digital hobbies. Goods and logistics. Consumer goods are strictly practical. There is no infrastructure for rapid, cheap shipping or specialized global parts. Most items are sourced from local markets, and foreign imports are subject to heavy tariffs that put them far out of reach. Freedoms and institutional stability. True personal and civil liberties are a global minority exception, not the rule. The political landscape. The average human lives under a regime classified as a hybrid regime or outright authoritarian. Truly open democracies account for less than 15% of the global population. Civil liberties. On a 1 to 10 scale of global human freedom, the average sits at a 6.8. For the typical person, speaking out against local leadership, Protesting a policy or publishing dissenting opinions online carries a genuine risk of state harassment, job loss, or imprisonment. Rule of law. Corruption is a standard component of navigating life. The average person expects to deal with bureaucratic bribery or institutional favoritism to clear basic paperwork, start a small business, or resolve legal disputes. Property rights are fluid and heavily dependent on the stability of the local government. Summary baseline. The average human life is localized, physically demanding, and financially tight. It is lived in a developing economy with fluctuating electricity, basic but precarious access to clean water, a smartphone used with metered data, and an institutional environment where keeping one's head down and regarding politics is the safest policy for daily survival. Why do I talk about this? I'll be open. I'll share my story. So, I got my CDL back in 2025, and I was getting it just so I could become a lineman. That was my goal. But as I've realized, it's a really hard goal, and there's a lot of challenges with it. Not to mention, there's not a lot of opportunities to even work as a groundman and just get the basic experience needed for an apprenticeship. But due to the challenges, I've had so many stretches of unemployment and not being able to make money. I'm not going to say that's the only reason why, but I'll talk about my mindset. Me and maybe others have this mindset of like maybe entitlement, or maybe we're unwilling to do certain things. For me, it was trucking. I never wanted to be a trucker. I never wanted to drive over the road. I never wanted, for me, having to sleep in the truck, having to try and find showers and places to take a shower at a gas station, or maybe not even being able to, so going to sleep sweaty and dirty, not being able to leave the truck. I mean, you're stuck in the truck. You can't go out when you're done with work and just do whatever you want. There's no hobbies now. You can't go rock climbing, you can't do martial arts, you can't play video games, you can't watch, maybe you can play video games, but you can't go to the gym, all these things that I have, that I enjoy, I can't do. And then you have the mindset of an entry-level position pays so little, you might be working a few weeks or a month or 2 months, however long some of these entry-level trucking positions are, for $800 a week, which is nothing for how much sacrifices you're making, right? But why am I sharing my thoughts on this? Yeah, from my perspective, right, as a very entitled, very privileged human being on this planet, it's hard for us to step down into these uncomfortabilities that we put in our mind. But why did I talk about all this? It's because we're so skewed. Our mindset is so skewed. We are among the top 1 to 5%. Here, this is the question I asked AI. By the way, I read all this off of AI. I said, if you look at the world's population, what is the average standard of living, income, freedoms, etc.? How good do I have it being born an American living in Utah? It says, to understand how your life as an American in Utah compares to the rest of the world, we have to look past the day-to-day frustrations of local politics or inflation and look at the cold, hard global data. When you zoom out to the entire planet, the reality is staggering. By almost every metric, income, stability, purchasing power, and personal liberties, being born in the U.S. puts you in the literal top 1% to 5% of all humans to have ever lived. Okay, let's stop right there. When we pray and we're asking God and we're talking to God, and if we're complaining, or if we're just so unwilling to be humble and take a sacrifice position or make some sacrifices, how do you think it looks to Him when He puts you in a land of opportunity with so many privileges and blessings that most of the world has never had, most people who's ever lived has never had, right? It just looks ridiculous. Let's continue. Is there anything else? Basically, it went on to talk about all the stuff I already covered, but I'm talking about this because it's so important for us to be humble. It's so important for us to zoom out and get the real perspective and stop feeling so entitled and so we just have the wrong perspective. I feel like if we kept in mind this perspective, we would have no problem like going and working at McDonald's if that's all you had, you know? Because people that work at McDonald's, you know, that's a very privileged position that most people don't have. And now I get it. Like, do we want to be stuck at McDonald's forever? Is that maybe our full potential? No. But sometimes in life, when you have to be humble or need to be humble, and it's all that you got, you need to remember how blessed you are and be grateful and work hard and just keep the right perspective in those moments when you're struggling, and just remember that a lot of people don't have clean water. A lot of people have to go and find water every day and boil it just to make it safe to drink. You know, a lot of people live off of, what was it, $2.15 a day, or you know, 3,000 to 5,000 United States dollars a year. You know, there's not a single job in the U.S. where you'll make less than $3,000 to $5,000 a year. I really don't think there's a single one. And so, I don't know. I just wanted to share this because I think we all will struggle with it to some degree. Like, we feel like maybe you've put in a lot of work to school and education or training or whatever, and you feel like now's the time I deserve a high-paying job. Now's the time. Guys, keep reaching, you know, for as good as you can get. I'm not trying to discourage you, but I hope that if you need to be humble, or if you need to be patient, or if you need to go and do something that you didn't really want to do, or if you need to make sacrifices, that you remember, like, you're among the 1 to 5% of the entire world, most likely, if you're watching this video, right? A lot of people don't have the freedom to spend time watching YouTube videos or making YouTube videos. They have to physically work hard for the very basic necessities of living. Like, that's the reality of the world for most of the world. God bless you guys. I love you. Hope you keep a good perspective on things. And you know, when you are struggling and you have to go through some hard things in life, because life is hard for everyone. I'm not saying that if you're born in extreme poverty, or if you're, well off. It's kind of hard to compare the two, because well-off people, how is their life so hard? But to a degree, life is difficult for everyone, and whatever your life looks like, be willing to turn to the Lord, be willing to be humble, be willing to walk with Him, be willing to ask Him for help and strength, and He will bless you and move you forward and help you make progress. Just trust Him, be patient, but it's important to be humble. And I just want to remind you, seek first the kingdom of God, and all these things will be added unto you. So, like, if you put God first and He's at the top, He's your main priority, hopefully you can have some peace and relax knowing that He has you, and you'll be taken care of. Have a great day. Bye-bye.